Hi everyone. So what I want to talk about today is something from the Parsha, the weekly Torah portion. This week's Torah portion is called Bo. It's towards the very, very end of the Jewish people's exile and enslavement in Egypt. And at a certain point, God tells Moshe to tell the people that this next month, which is the Jewish month of Nisan, this next month is going to be the head of the months for you. It's going to be the first of the months. And this is the month that they're going to bring the Passover offering, and it's really the month of their redemption, the month when they of the Exodus from Egypt. And so this month, Nisan, this month is the first month of the year. It's the head of the months. But interestingly, it's not the first month after the beginning of the year, because the beginning of the year, Rosh Hashanah, is 6 months earlier in Tishrei, the Jewish month of Tishrei. So we have the year that begins in a certain month, and then 6 months later, we have the month that's the first month of the year, the month that's the beginning of all months, the month that is the first month of the year. And that's kind of mysterious. What does it mean for us to have a year that starts at a certain point on Rosh Hashanah, and then 6 months later for us to have a month that's the first month of the year? So why do these counts not match up? Why is the first month Nisan, and that's 6 months away from the beginning of the year? What does that mean? And we can look to, before we can really answer that question, I want to look to a commentary of the Sfat Emet, Hasidic commentary on the Parsha, on the Torah. So the Sfat Emet talks about this phrase that this month is going to be the head of the months. And he talks about how the month, the word for month in general, chodesh, is connected to the word for chadash, newness, and that the redemption from Egypt is connected to renewal. Our enslavement in Egypt and our galut, our disconnection from a redeemed state, our exile in Egypt was an exile that involved a kind of disconnection from newness, thinking that the old just repeats itself, and that there's like the phrase in Ecclesiastes, that there's nothing new under the sun. The sense that there's not real newness, that just things repeat and there's nothing new. And the Sfat Emet talks about how this feeling that there's nothing new, it comes from a sense of being stuck in the laws of nature in a world that only has nature. If we're in a world that only has nature, then in some sense there's nothing new, because there's the laws of nature, and there's the way things were, and everything is determined based on the way things were in the laws of nature. We're at least in a kind of deterministic universe. So if we think about things that way, then in some sense it can feel like there's nothing new, and it can be hard to find a sense of renewal in our lives. But the Sfat Emet talks about how actually that's only from when we're in a consciousness of being only under the laws of nature, when we're in a kind of exile from our connection to God. And when we recognize that the phrase in Ecclesiastes, it says there's nothing new under the sun, but above the sun, or in a sense above nature or beyond nature, there is newness all the time. So when we kind of step back from a perspective that sees ourselves only as living in the laws of nature, and recognize a kind of deeper connection to something that's above nature or beyond nature, then we can recognize that in fact God recreates the world at every moment. In some sense, it's something that's talked about in philosophy. Descartes talks about it. The idea is that there's no kind of metaphysical guarantee that the world will continue to exist. If it exists at one moment, it doesn't mean that it's going to continue to exist in the next moment. There's no metaphysical necessity that it's going to continue to exist. And so We need a kind of metaphysical explanation for the world's existence in this moment, and the fact that it existed and had the laws of nature that it did a moment ago is not enough to explain that. And so that's the sense in which God has to recreate the world at every moment. There has to be he has to kind of ground the fact, explain the fact, make it the case that things are still here, and what's still here. There could be something new, and in some sense there is something new at every moment. The world is new, every moment is new. Every moment is actually not the same as what was before, as much as sometimes it seems to us like things are the same as they were. And so this Sfat Emet talks about this, the kind of consciousness of being redeemed from Egypt is a consciousness of being redeemed from the sense that everything is old, that nothing is new, that everything just continues as it was. When we're redeemed from that, and when we're able to see everything is actually coming from God, is being brought into being in every moment by God, then we're able to also find newness within ourselves. So it's in Hebrew hitchadshut, which is connected to the word for chodesh, month, and hitchadshut is renewal. We're then able to find renewal in ourselves, to recognize that in this moment I can do something different. In this moment things can be different. There's no reason that it has to be the same as before. I don't have to be stuck in my patterns and in the things that are burdening me from the past, as much as sometimes it can feel like we're stuck there. But a lot of times it's because our heads are in the past and in the future that we feel stuck. We feel like we're just kind of in a track that already got determined by what was before. But if we connect really to just this very moment, then we can see that actually there's a kind of freedom there. That's really the only place where we have real agency. In this very moment, we can do something different. And it means that it's very small what we can do, because what can I do in this moment? I can't save the world in this moment. I can't write a book in this moment. But actually I can do something that shifts everything. I can do something that shifts my direction, that shifts me from a kind of stuck place to a more open place. And Jewish teachings teach that actually, in some sense, we can save the world in this very moment, because my thinking, what I think in this very moment, changes what are called the upper world, what's beyond nature, beyond what we can see. And so if I choose to think positively in this moment, or if I was gonna just sit on the couch and not do anything, and then I decide to stand up and do something good, a small act that I wouldn't have done, or that I plan to do later, but I decide to do right now. Even that, or if I sort of like pull myself out of negative thinking and decide right now to be positive about something, or just to accept that I feel the way I feel, but to step back from it and to allow it to be there, but not to define me. Any of those things, they sound small, but they're actually huge, because they're real. They're the things that we can actually do in the moment. And those are the things that allow us to get unstuck from the patterns that we often find ourselves stuck in, and from a sense that everything is old and that things just repeat. And that's the newness of hitchadshut. That's the renewal that we can find. And this idea that there can be a first month, that the first month of the year is actually in the middle of the year. It's a kind of hint to that. Because the word for year, shana, is connected on the one hand to the word in Hebrew, yashan, which means old, for something being old, something being kind of continuing on. And it's also connected to shinui, which means change. So in the things that seem old, there is change, but sometimes we're not able to see it, or sometimes we only see it in retrospect. And the chadash, the chodesh, the hitchadshut, all these words are connected to the word month, new, renewal. The connection between all these words and the fact that the first month is in the middle of the year. It's a kind of hint to the idea that in the middle of what seems old, in the middle of what seems like it's the same and just continuing over and over, and we're just kind of stuck in the same thing, in the middle of that, we can stop and say, no, right now is new. Right now, this moment, this is new, and I can do something different in this moment, even if I can't control what I do in another moment from now. Maybe in another minute, I won't have the energy. And what I did a second ago also, I can't change. But what I can do in this moment, I can do something. And that can actually change everything. It can change the shana, the year, from something that feels old to something that really involves change. And it can it can really bring the newness of the month. It can really bring the newness that exists at every moment in reality. It can really bring it out. And so that's the kind of hint that I think that this Torah portion and the Sfat Emet's commentary have for us. So I wish us all a day of renewal, a month of renewal, a moment of renewal, really for right now, a moment of renewal, to think positively, to step back from the things that are heavy from us, and to say, okay, that's here and that's okay, and I can do something right now. I can do something that I've been hoping to do and meaning to do, and I can call up a friend, I can be kind to myself, I can think differently about something that I've been feeling negative about, and that can really open something up for the whole month, for the whole year, and for the whole world.